Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, back in our habitual surrounds for the Vuelta TT, the only individual time trial in this year's edition, and it's only 26 or 25.8 kilometers as well in Valladolid, a city circuit, but it goes out and it's not too technical compared to other city TTs that we've had in the past. It does have a little hill in it, but it is one, as all the guys who did the recon this morning said, for the specialists, largely being flat. And yes, there's corners, but the good time trialists didn't let up even pedaling through them, let alone getting out of their custom extensions. I enjoyed. If you want to watch something, go and watch the first right-hand corner for all the time trialists. That's quite. I always like doing that to see who pedals, who gets out of the skis, etc. But what was the, before we get into what happened, Benji, the betting odds? Remco was the heavy favourite for this TT, right? Maybe I'm the degenerate that should remember this better.
I've got absolutely no clue. I just know that in my head, it was either between Ganna or Remco when it comes to the stage win, and I couldn't really care less about the stage win itself. I care about the GC time. So whether Ganna beats Remco or Remco beats Ganna, the things I want to know is how close Roglic is to Remco, how close an Ayuso can be on the day like today, where Vingegaard will be, if Sepkus can keep his red jersey towards Soler. Like, I don't really care who wins this time trial before this, to be honest.
It was everyone desperate to gain time, everyone desperate to maintain their position. You can't, there's so many strong TT guys on their day in this course, like a Vlasov, Almeida, Ayuso, notwithstanding the world champion Remco and the Olympic champion Roglic. There's also, what could Jonas Vingegaard do? Obviously doesn't look in his tour shape, but who knows what could happen. And also Kuss, like, it was a really interesting TT to go into. And yeah, Remco was the heavy favourite to win it, which there was a fair bit of Ganna disrespect. Not also considering that if it was close, Ganna had potentially 4 guys he could catch. Probably, most definitely 3, because he's not in GC. He goes earlier and he has bad time trialers not trying, starting ahead of him with 1 minute intervals. Remco and the other GC, Remco has one bad time trialist. Fortunately for him, it's Landa, who he was able to catch, starting 2 minutes before him. So Remco's able to catch one guy, Ganna caught 4. That does make a difference.
That does make a difference. And to give more context, it's about the draft, right? We're talking about the slight draft you get from the rider, but also from the following vehicles of that rider that is ahead of you. If you got 4 riders, you got 4 times as much potential draft than if you had one rider ahead of you that you can pass. But not even that. If we look at the run-in towards this time trial, Ganna didn't have to go all out every single day. But Remco had to go all out basically every single day, except for the neutralized segments at the end of 2 stages. But outside of that, there's the other factor of who benefits the rest day more, and I'd argue probably Ganna.
Yeah, probably. What you mean in terms of media stuff?
As well. I actually hadn't thought about that either. Just in general, I would have expected that to benefit Ganna a bit more.
Yeah, and also through these corners, there's a 180-degree turn. There's some 90-degree corners. Ganna can take a few more risks than Remco. You know, he needs to go all out for the victory. So that was how the TT was shaping up. Ganna went early, and he did set that benchmark without really us knowing, apart from Oliveira and apart from Bissiger, who ended up finishing 11 positions behind Ganna. We didn't really know. I did think it was pretty shit hot to average 56 kph on this course with a hill with these corners. I thought that was a very, very quick time, but we had to wait. And then that was what, 1:19 ahead of Bissiger, and then Oliveira, he was still 1 minute 12 ahead. I thought that's a good time. Oliveira, who recently top 10 the World Championships TT, and also I think a longer TT does suit Remco more than a half an hour, 25-minute TT, where a bit advantage Ganna. Anyway, so Ganna sets that time. T1, he's at 1, he's first. T2, he's first. T1 to T2, he's first. T2 to the finish, he doesn't end up finishing first. We see Vlasov set one of the best times for a GC rider, only less than a minute behind Ganna. But then Roglic is second at T1. He's rolled out before Remco. He's 1 second ahead of Remco at T1, which is the quote-unquote slower section. They averaged 52 kilometers an hour in that section. The last bit to the finish was nearly 59 kilometers an hour, 60 kph. And then Remco starts to claw it back. T2, he's now 9 seconds ahead of Roglic. T1 to T2, he's 7 seconds slower than Ganna, though. So the stage win is not looking like it's happening for Remco, and it doesn't. He finishes second. Ganna takes another victory. He has not won a Tour stage. He has won Giro stages, but now he's got a win in the Vuelta. He finishes 16 seconds ahead of Remco. And then Roglic, a really good performance, 36 behind Ganna, 20 seconds behind Remco. I think Roglic, he'll be happier than Remco today.
100%. Like, Roglic will be really happy about only losing 19, 20. It's 20 on paper, but it looked more like 19 on the road. 20 seconds lost from Remco on a day like today. He's going to be very happy with that, especially because I reckon he lost more in the Giro, if I recall correctly, on that one day. So
he lost 45-50 on the opening TT.
Yeah, for example. But next to that, it's also, he's not just doing that, he's also gaining time on other competitors on the road.
True.
Next to being close to Remco. So he's putting everyone except for Remco on a distance. There's some TTs here, for example, by Almeida, that are really good as well. But let's talk through the Remco one for a second. You said it. You spoke about the fact that the first portion of the time trial, he had a slower time than Roglic, but then started crawling it back. I wasn't overly comfortable with Remco on the first segment, and I don't know why. I can't specify what, but for example, there was this one left-hand corner where Roglic went through it at a rather fast pace, was looking at just a sharper corner that Roglic did, and Remco did it at a slower pace, and I don't know, is it that Remco had to diesel into his time trial a bit more, or is it that Roglic lost some speed in the second and third segment?
Well, there's two things. Firstly, as you say, it is. I think Roglic and Vingegaard are better technically on the TT bike than Remco. Same with Pogačar. Remco in the corners is like, go and watch the first corner. Unfortunately, they didn't show Vingegaard. They did show Roglic, but Roglic does not stop pedaling, does not get out of the skis in corner one. Remco has to come off the pedals just a little bit. That could be half a second, maybe three tenths of a second, and they all add up. There are probably 20 corners in this course. So, that could be 5-7 seconds. And then the second part of the equation is that Jumbo's TT setup consistently throughout the year has not looked as quick on the high speed segments. And so the first part of the course is 50-52 km/h average. And it's close there. In fact, at T1, Roglic is ahead. In fact, at T1, Vingegaard is fifth. Not very far behind Remco, 14:39. He was, can I do maths? 14 seconds behind Remco at T1, 15 minutes in. And then you look at T2 to the finish, which is nearly, Remco averaged 60 kph, a 6-minute segment. Roglic is fourth. This is weird timing. Maybe Roglic is third. Vingegaard is 12th. Even T1 to T2. If this is to be believed, T1 to T2 on the 57 km/h section that Roglic did, he was 9th in that 7-minute section. And there's no way he was pedaling. He was like physically the 9th worst or blowing up because his T2 to the finish was fast. So I don't know if that was pacing, but I think Jumbo were very close T1. And then as the course got quicker, their setup consistently throughout the year has not been as fast, and the 55 km/h plus, and that played into it. And also, Vingegaard was not as good. Even accounting for that, Benji, Vingegaard here finishes 10th on 118 to Ganna, on 102 to Evenepoel. He's finished 6 seconds behind Marc Soler here. There's no... You can talk about setup all you like. Marc Soler's looking around like a meerkat at the end of his TT. Vingegaard was not as good today as he has been in the past.
Yep, that's very true. There's no excuses for that. And 102 is a lot of time towards Evenepoel, and that's 42 seconds to pretty much his teammate. That changes up the strategies that they might employ in the next 2 weeks, for example. Losing time towards Ayuso, to Almeida, and you said it, Marc Soler, but also he's only gaining 11 seconds on Sepp Kuss, who started off rather, like, when he started off, it was a good time. It was a solid time. I was like, okay, he's going to keep the red jersey because Soler's only going 4 seconds faster than him at the first time check. 50. So Soler wasn't going to take over the red jersey. And it was like 29 seconds, if I recall, towards Remco at T1. So I was thinking, wait, Remco's not going to get there either. So he's going to keep the red jersey. But from that point onwards, he stayed consistent, not just in the second portion, which was, I don't know, the second portion for every Jumbo rider was a bit meh. Like, Kuss was 18th on the T1 to T2, for example. But in the last segment, this time was 1:13 in total across the entire time trial behind Remco. So that's only 12 seconds slower than Jonas Vingegaard. So Semka's, first of all, a very, very good time trial. I'd say he's one of the 3 winners of this time trial next to Primoz and next to João Almeida. Those are the 3 clear winners for me of this time trial. And
I agree, yeah.
is there any other rider where you say, oh, winner? Vlasov, but that's...
Did you say Soler?
I did not.
I think Soler did a very, very good TT. In fact, I think he was shocked that he came in. Soler finishes 8th in this TT. I'll run through from Roglic below, and then I'll just finish that point. Almeida, as Benji said, a very, very good TT. 50 seconds behind Ganna. That's 34 on Evenepoel, 14 on Roglic. He'll take that. He worked into his TT at, he was 9th at T1, and then PCS timetable does not have his other.
Yeah, got better and better over time.
Got
and
better.
We noticed that with every UAE rider, I think. I reckon they've got
Ayuso went
something
back
where
now.
they... Yeah, except for Ayuso. Ayuso just went back to the Shadow Realm towards the end of the time trial.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Soler and Almeida, their third part was also really bloody strong. And I reckon it's the best part of both their time trials.
For sure.
The last segment.
Vlasov on 52 seconds in 5th. He's only 16 behind Roglic and 20. Can I do maths? 26 behind Remco. Cataneo 109. Nice performance, but not relevant. Ayuso, I thought could go a little bit quicker, especially when I saw T1. Yeah. He faded a little bit. I thought he'd be under 1 minute to Ganna. He ends up being on 1:11, which is 55 seconds off Evenepoel. I thought he could go 40. Soler, only 1 second slower than Ayuso. So as I said, that either a huge... If Soler's finishing 1 second behind Ayuso in 8th, he'd be thinking, fuck, I'm taking 48 seconds on Kuss. He doesn't. Oliveira in 9th, same time as Soler. Vingegaard in 10th, 1:18. Sepp Kuss on 1:29, as you said. So 1:29 to Ganna, but that's only 1:13 to Remco. To me, if there was a betting over-under before the stage, a head-to-head, how much will Remco beat Kuss by? It would have been set, I think, at 2 minutes.
Okay, I had it at 1:41 this morning.
Okay. Maybe I'm underrating Kuss TT, but I think it would have been set around there, 2 minutes. So, yeah, a massive overperformance by Kuss. And yeah, he paced it pretty well. Mars, we'll go to a bit of the negatives. Mars on 1:46, like, that's really bad, frankly, given that, you know, if Kuss can do that, then he finishes another 17 seconds back. Thomas had a mechanical and I think kind of parked it.
Carthy he's also on 12 minutes in GC already before this, so kind of irrelevant, just like Cataneo.
Landa 2:21, which is 2:05 behind Remco. Lenny 2:29, which is 2:13 maybe behind Remco. Kjan really bad, really bad for someone on a Bora Hansgrohe setup who's not 55 kilos. To lose 6 seconds to Lenny is really surprising, actually. If he wants to be a serious GC guy, his biggest weakness right now is his TT performance, and he's young. I'm not trying to be horrible, but I'm just saying, like, it surprised me how, because he's not 55 kilos. Like, he's not like Lenny. Like, Lenny, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to criticize Lenny if you're going slow it on a flat course. But is there anyone else GC relevant that I've missed?
I reckon you got the most important riders, and the thing they're like, Landa lost time. Landa lost time as well in this time trial. But the thing when it comes to the riders we see here is, I feel like Ayuso disappointed. I feel like Vingegaard disappointed. Those are the two. Even though when it comes to Vingegaard, I didn't expect a great time, and I don't know why, because in Tour de France he had one of the best time trials I've ever seen in cycling. And then we continue forward to this race, and it's just the surviving factor of him so far this race. He's always trying to survive the climbing stages. He's always trying to hold on to groups, never really attacking. So I never felt like he was good enough to make the move in the first place. And that in combination with the T setup of Jumbo-Visma on the flat portions, I wasn't very confident in him, but I also didn't expect him to shit the bed like he did today. So I expected him to be closer. But when it comes to Ayuso, I also expected the same. He was just consistently average from start to finish. Is average even too nice?
Ayuso?
Yeah.
I thought he was moving pretty well at the first TT, in the first intermediate. He was 7th there, but yeah, he got a bit slower T1 to T2. He shifts around on his saddle a lot. He is not... And it must be losing him time. It must be. He cannot be pedaling consistently every time. And he's doing it once every 10 seconds moving on that saddle. So that's something they need to fix because he's losing seconds. Maybe, quite a lot of seconds. Because his position in terms of his head looks quite good. What was I going to say? Vingegaard, it's like he clearly doesn't have the watts of the Tour. Otherwise, frankly, he would have dropped everybody on Havelambre and Arensal and other stages. But also, the Tour TT was, what was the average speed of that TT? 41 kph. And here it's 55 kph, 56, 57 for the winner. So it is a different TT. Same thing with Roglic in the Giro. His best TT was the last one, which was up the mountain. So, I think I'll do the revised. Is there anything else from the TT, Benji? I mean, Ganna does the job. I want to, Dan Bigham, I saw on Instagram, he was there in Valladolid. They get the job done, that duo. I think Ganna's had his best season ever. Because I really think he has. Even though that sounds kind of... I feel like Ganna's had more hyped seasons, and he's obviously won World's TT. But this year's second in San Remo, 6th in Roubaix, 10th in E3, and he won the Tirreno TT, and he's now won a Vuelta TT, and he won World Champs on the track. I think he's had a very good season.
I agree he's got a good season, as in 6th in Roubaix, 2nd in Milan San Remo, but what do you buy with that? What do you buy with a 6th place in Roubaix, for example? You can argue he can compete for the victory in the future at some point, but I think he's missing stage wins in like the Tour de France, for example, because no offense, but the Vuelta's not the Tour de France when it comes to a Tour de France stage wins is higher value. When it comes to the World Championships ITT, I think he'd rather win that instead of getting second. So I don't know if he values this as much as winning the World Championships ITT, for example. And I actually haven't kept up with what he did on track, so I can't tell you if he did well there or not.
True, and he lost the Giro opening TT and then didn't start on stage 8, so he didn't win a Giro TT. Maybe I'm overrating it a little bit. I think probably I am, but I've been more impressed by his road performance. I think he's taken a big right up there in the mix. So,
and
I think Ineos actually do have to be happy with that.
And he was second behind Miguel Angel, the Rocket Lopez on Alto Colorado, my friend.
Benji, Sean,
at the start
Kelly,
of the season.
Naesen.
Miguel Angel. That's a pretty cool name, not gonna lie. But regardless of that, I think there's something I want to discuss before we head over to the future of this Vuelta, and it's about the future of the Vuelta. Now, when it comes to the GC, we have, Sepkus is still in the lead. And if we take a look at the Jumbo riders only for a second, Roglic is on 136 and Vingegaard is on 222. If we take a look at those three riders compared to a Remco, for example, on 109, what do you see as the strategy when it comes to Jumbo? Because I kind of feel like Sepkus is now even more one of the protected riders compared to the one that will have to launch the first on the climbs. I feel like Vingegaard is now the guy you do the first attack with, unlike what Kuz was doing the last few days.
Well, first of all, Koos now being through that TT ahead means that if he attacks, first of all, go back to first principles. To win the race, Ayuso, Almeida, or Remco have to put time into Sepp Kuss. So default position, they have to do something. And that means, say Sepp Kuss in a very conventional, actually boring stage on the Tourmalet. Like nothing really happens, but he starts to drop a bit on Tourmalet with 5Ks to go. Remco's dropped him. He has Roglic in the wheel. What is he has to just pace with Roglic in the wheel?
Honestly, I reckon that is the best thing to do.
Kuss comes back.
If I'm Remco, I would gladly ride Roglic to the line to eliminate one of the other three leaders
but he will counter
at Jumbo-Visma. And yes, he will counter you, but that's part of the game. You're going to lose time in that scenario. You got to accept that you lose time, but you got to make sure that if you lose time, you make sure you destroy one of the three leaders in the process.
So I think, and first of all, it goes to tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow, right? If Vingegaard was where he is and Kuss was nowhere, maybe you go for the stage win tomorrow with Roglic. I really don't think Jumbo should do that Because why would you go for this? We'll preview it properly, but it's like an uphill sprint. You're not going to get any serious GC time. Why would you go for an uphill sprint? Kuss might lose 10, 12 seconds. Like, he lost 7 seconds. He maybe didn't need to on stage 9 because Roglic attacked. Remco would have just rode it in and Kuss wouldn't have lost any time. Do you really put Kuss on more time so Roglic can take 4 bonies or maybe even lose to Remco in the sprint? I don't think so. I think so that's more protection for Kuss. And yeah, as I said, it just means that I think it's just flat hierarchy, and it's always actually been that way. And, you know, it wasn't into the race, obviously, and, you know, the Jumbo directors have been saying, like the 2 main leaders have been Vingegaard and Roglic, but if Kuss is in red by 50 seconds and he's climbing well, you're not just going to throw that away. You're not going to just tell him to get on the front and pace. That'd be ridiculous.
I agree. Now, we also have to look at the fact that when it comes to GC, Roglic got relatively close to Remco today in the time trial, but he's still on time. He's still on a solid 27 seconds, 26 seconds, 27 seconds.
I'll run through the top 10 quickly.
Okay.
So we have the foundation. So Kuss is in the lead, 26 seconds ahead of Soler. So Jumbo and UAE have 2 ahead. Remco is on 109. And Soler, I think, is still quite under the radar. That TT was very impressive today. Roglic is on 136. That is 27 seconds behind Remco. Not a small gap. Martinez down to 202. Almeida on 216 behind Kuss, which is 1 minute and 7 seconds behind Remco and 40 seconds behind Roglic. Vingegaard's on 222 behind Kuss. Quite a gap, and 1 minute and 13 seconds behind Remco, and just under a minute, maybe 40, 50 seconds behind his teammate Roglic. Ayuso's 3 seconds behind him, also on quite a gap, and now also 9 seconds behind his teammate Almeida. Mas moves down to 9th on 250. Vlasov is still on 314, and Kjan is now on 516, which is no good. So that's the framework where we have Jumbo UAE, Remco, Roglic quite close, and then a collection within 10 seconds of Almeida, Vingegaard, Ayuso, and Mas is really far away. I can't see Mas winning this Vuelta. So to me, it's UAE the 3, Jumbo the 3, and poor old Remco. Yeah,
poor solo Remco there. And kind of surprising that Cataneo was allowed to go all out in a time trial today. I probably wouldn't have made that goal personally, especially with Ganna here and with Remco here himself. So he definitely wasn't going to win. But that aside, I reckon the hierarchy probably isn't equal in my eyes. As in, I genuinely see Jonas Vingegaard as the previous Sepp Kuss role now. As in, a few days ago when Kuss went and attacked a bit early to make sure Remco kind of had to chase with Roglic in the wheel, for example, I see Vingegaard as that role right now. And maybe that's a decision that should be made after Tourmalet, after a stage that really, really fits him. But I feel like that is the way I view the tree now. Because, like, Remco is going to want to attack Kuss. And let's say Remco's not the kind of character that just does an attack out of the saddle straight to Vingegaard to drop Kuss in the process. He's the guy that does the gradual pacing to try and catch back the rider that is ahead of him. So, you think I'm crazy?
Fine. That was fine on Joreta Cati. That's fine on 17% on a short climb. Are you going to do that for 20 minutes on 7%? We saw that on Sierra Nevada. He was stronger than Roglic on Sierra Nevada. He was stronger than O'Connor on Sierra Nevada. But if you do it for a long time on a shallower gradient, eventually you will get countered even by a weaker rider who can then take 10, 12 seconds on him. So it's tricky for him. It's really tricky for him to manage. And you're right, like, he in the rest day interview yesterday, Remco was like, me and UAE got to team up against Jumbo. And I think he's kind of right. But then Ayuso said, no, I'm going to ride my own race. I think if one of the Jumbos attack on a climb, and Remco's there, I don't think the UAE guys are going to pace Remco back. They might attack across with Soler or someone.
Yeah, but
there's no way they're just going to work with Remco to pace him back.
The problem you have there is, let's say you're UAE, and you've got a user when you're like, ooh, Vingegaard's attacking early. Remco's going to want to do a spacey thing, so won't attack straight up towards Vingegaard. If you're a user when you follow Vingegaard, then you've got 2 riders up front, but then Remco will probably respond instantly if there's 2. But let's say he doesn't, Jonas might look at Ayuso and say, well, go ahead. Because he hasn't looked that strong, Jonas, so far, so he might not be that confident that he starts riding with Ayuso in those scenarios. So there's so many small scenarios that can happen with the three riders on each side of the court with Remco in the middle, you know?
Yeah. And true, like Jonas can't work with Ayuso with Koos behind. That would make no sense to help Ayuso gain time. But I think the way I look at UAE riding this race, the way Machin wants to win the overall ranking, there is no way UAE will tell Soler to sacrifice his GC. No chance.
Only when it's like super clear that one move will win them
to
the
win
race.
the race or something, on stage
right now,
20 or 18.
Right now, there's no clear move that does that. So I reckon it's not even needed for them to do that. Almeida should just keep doing his Almeida thingy. Soler should just keep doing what he's doing and maybe even try and see an opportunity somewhere to gain some time because people might not see him as a real GC threat yet because, sorry, but it's still Soler, so people are still looking at him like, okay, it's just Soler, it's not Ayuso going up the road, for example, even though Ayuso is like on 222, and I reckon Ayuso will just try and go all out at a certain point in this race or will try and benefit from just being good on one of the races, and so I don't see some tactical masterpiece coming from the UAE side necessarily. It's all about Remco versus the three, and then UAE kind of having their own battle to survive on the side for me.
Yeah, I think UAE will try to just react to what Jumbo follow, and then, like what happened on LaFlammeRouge, attack across. Almeida, he did not pace Remco back. He attacked Remco's group on LaFlammeRouge. If you go watch around 3Ks to go. So, very, very interesting. Jumbo, I mean, Roglic looks the strongest, right? Have we had a serious stage yet?
Nope.
So
that was pretty serious, but
no, a serious mountain stage. So say
Tourmalet will change everything.
Say you watched the Lusari TT stage 16 and it was stage 16 of the Giro. What would you have thought before Bondone? Roglic is going to smoke him, right?
Wait, what do you mean? As in, if you saw Lusari before Bondone?
Yeah, if they switched it around, which they should have, by the way, for the race. If that had been before Bondone, you would think Roglic would clean it up.
Yeah.
So, who knows? We've got 4 huge mountain stages and then a brutal medium mountain stage on stage 20. Maybe Vingegaard gets better in the third week on Anglerud. Like he's on 2 minutes, but it's to his teammate. He's only on 113 to Koos.
Just want to say that Koos was better on Anglerud than Roglic last time.
Exactly. So, and that was 2020. Was it, tired and whatever, but yeah.
Because rode 3 Grand Tours, so that might also influence him for week 3, though.
How many people do you think realistically could win this Vuelta?
I realistically still believe in the chances of Roglic.
Yep.
I believe there's a chance for Remco, even though I don't see that chance being that significant at the moment. And outside of those two, Ayuso has that like star quality where I can see him doing something unexpected, where you're like, whoa, okay, this man is the real thing. That's number 3. And I need to give some chance to GC because he is realistically in a solid position for GC.
Yeah, I think I think could win Roglic, Soler, Koos, Remco, not Almeida.
Soler too.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Soler Vuelta winning.
Soler in very hard stages is really good. If you look at the Tour, man. He's actually...
I don't see it.
Of course, it's unlikely, but I think it's possible. I think his shape is incredible, actually. And I think he's
one
good
of the mountain stages, he's going to melt.
Probably. Probably. And yeah, I think Jonas can still win. His best stages haven't come yet. Almeida, I just don't see it. I just don't see Ayuso, you're right. Ayuso has that je ne sais quoi about him. That he could just do something incredible like Tour de Suisse. Yeah, I'm a man of many talents. All right, that was the TT. I thought it was very exciting. GC is still all to play. GC Koos. That's a freedom eagle, baby.
Bruh.
Flying over. Is that what?
It's not like an eagle riding into or flying into a bloody glass window.
GC Koos still in red. What the fuck? He's going to run away with this welter at this rate. Okay, tomorrow's stage from Lerma to La Laguna Negra, Vunueza. Oh, we forgot to mention, because this reminded me where we are. Apparently, there's a horrific transfer on the rest day for like some of the riders got to divert it to Madrid. I don't know. I think as a general principle, Europeans close your ears. Europeans close your ears. You live in really small countries. They're really small. They're not big. They're not like Australia. They're not like Canada. They're not like the United States. They're not like Russia. Small countries. You have 21 stages. In fact, you've got 9 in the first week to make your way around somewhere. Unless you start in a foreign country, why are you getting a flight on the first rest day? You really couldn't have the race. So it's a maybe 3-4 hour maximum drive transfer. Like, I don't understand how you're having internal flights when it's domestic stages. And countries, I'll repeat, not that big. Not that big.
I agree that it sounds very much possible to orchestrate a Grand Tour where you don't need a flight on the rest day to move to the other side of the country to do a stage. And it was like a 5.5-hour drive, I think, if they took the actual drive. The bus has to move there anyway, so...
True, yeah.
But anyway, it's probably not the most comfortable to be in that bus. But you're right. We spoke about stage 11. You said it. It was Lermatula La Laguna Negra Vinuesa, 163 kilometers. And I just basically took over the entire profile explanation here because I can. The stage is kind of a Unipuerto stage, isn't it?
It's a hockey stick. It's a classic.
Yeah.
There's not even rampas here. And this is a nothing stage. 6.5K, 6.7%. Final 500 meters is quite punchy, maybe 10% plus. But the first 5Ks of the climb, 6%, 7%, 4%, 8%, 5%. Nothing too serious. No climb before. Bonus sprint in Vinuesa with 18Ks to go. This is breakaway. Quick Step should chase for the stage win, but I don't think they will. Because they should try and use Remco's burst against Koos, but I don't think they will. So, yeah. Who do you think wins, Benji? I reckon 85-15 break.
I reckon it's 95-5 break.
Yeah.
As in, I don't see Quickstep as good enough to control whatever phase of breakaway formation we're going to have tomorrow because a lot of people want to win from the breakaway. And where has Sean Quinn been? Can I talk about that for a second? He was good in that one mountain stage.
On Havelambre, wasn't he the EF guy? I was like, who the fuck is that in the back of the group?
Yeah. He was 16th in Burgos. This man had a kick at the end of climbs back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of break where you would be able to do well, but since he's been invisible, I can't take him. Like, I just can't pick him as a consequence. And there's many otherwise, like Rui Costa might be in the breakaway. Rune Gergots will be trying to get in the breakaway.
Costa's a good pick, yeah.
Leonard van Eetveld will try and go in the breakaway. I'm going through the list of riders because I don't know who's going to win yet. Volker Lam might try and go in the breakaway because I reckon he didn't have a terrible time trial today either. Are you calling it? Is that your pick?
No, because he didn't. He got dropped straight away on that climb on stage 9. If he'd made it deeper, I would then be happier about going with him on a shallower climb. But if you're not even the 5th best, I'm not interested. Is this? I mean, they surely can't keep letting him get away with it, Leonard Kamna.
He can't keep getting away with it. That's for sure.
He's going to go in the break. He can win from the break. He'll need teammates though. Juanpe, where's Juanpe this Vuelta? Seems anonymous. Santiago.
So
can someone try and move up GC again?
I haven't checked the 11 to 25th spot in GC yet, so I don't know yet. But one thing I do want to propose for you before you mention it, I reckon it is not impossible for Filippo Ganna to win this from the break.
Oh, for sure he could win. There's plenty of rollers. It's not like I said, there's no mountains before, but it's rolling before.
It's also 6.5%. This man can climb on 6.5%.
A serious rider will cook him. No way.
I believe. The Italian eagle will rise.
Thomas de Gent just decided to fuck over Rubio. That's why he won that stage. In the Giro.
Mate, second on Alto Colorado at the start of the season when nobody was
4%.
Prepared.
It's 4% the whole way.
There was a portion of 6%. I'm calling it. Anyway, I'm surprised to see Higuito at this race. I reckon I saw him a few times from like the back of the group, but
he was good on Havelambre. He was in the last 12.
This is not hard enough for Bardet to win, in my opinion.
No. Tiberi.
Gregoire hasn't really...
He's not look good. Van Eetvel's looked okay.
Van Eetveld or Buitrago for me.
Okay. Hard to
How's
disagree with that.
Engelhardt's kick?
Good, I think he's actually got a good kick. I'm going with my Antipodean bias, Finn Fisher Black.
Good
Look
pick.
good on Havalambre, and I'd like to see UAE like to have their guys in the breakaway. So I'm going with Finn Fisher Black. I think he should get in the break tomorrow. He has a real chance.
On Chile de Cati in the breakaway already, so it's not impossible.
Yep. And Lotto Destiny will get multiple riders in. They've been doing very well this Vuelta, so don't be surprised to see 3 Lotto in there.
Who's the Spanish? Gana?
Jesus Herrada. What?
No. Jesus Herrada is not the Spanish Gana.
Oh, Lascano.
Yes.
Wow. I think he would need to be in there with Rubio, and they'd need to use some team tactics, which was the plan, but it was the plan for them on the Jorret de Cati stage.
He's going to drop everybody. I've chosen. Lascano wins.
Okay, he did win Burgos, but that was a little bit easier than this. Okay, you changed to Lascano. I'm going with Finn. And that's all. I think, Vuelta very nicely poised. We do have the big stage coming up is that Col du Tourmalet stage on Friday. So we've got 2, I think, transition stages, let's say, in the next couple of days. But very finely poised. And maybe there's crosswinds we don't see. Who knows? But hope you enjoyed the podcast. As always, make sure to leave a review if you listen on podcast players. And we'll see you at the recap of stage 11 tomorrow. Ciao.